got some good news for you. Hey, man, now listen. Hey, everybody, gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the doctor is in the house. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Ron, host of Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, bringing you episode 467. Can we detox our brains? Can you detox your brains? Before we get started, I want to thank everybody that's been tuning in, and I do have that attitude of gratitude that I'm working on to keep up all year, to be grateful so that I have all the benefits of that great attitude of gratitude attitude. Thanks for listening to Phil Safer last week. It was really an interesting follow-up to a previous podcast that he has done, and we've gotten a lot of great comments on that. So I do thank you for that, and thank you for Irma for listening to it. So, I want to just talk to you briefly about something that I've talked about in the past, the lymphatic, G-L-Y-M-P-H, lymphatic system. We have arteries, we have veins, and we have lymph. And the lymph generally is, you have lymph nodes, right? Sometimes you get an infection, so you get a sore throat, the lymph nodes in your neck get big, you can feel them, they get tender. If you have a periodontal disease, they can get big and tender because they're doing the job of catching the infection. A lot of the infection and waste products travel through the lymph system. Some people have chronic lymphedema, which is swelling in their legs, or maybe after surgery, some lymph nodes are removed and the lymph cannot drain. So that part of their body distal, furthest away from the operation, starts to swell up. But you don't hear too much about the lymphatic system, but it's important because it is a waste clearance system for your body, and our brain uses this system. What does it use it for? It uses it to drain toxins away. Guess what? While we're sleeping. That's why sleep is so critical to our well-being. Each night, as we're sleeping, our brain shrinks. It can decrease 40% in some studies. So what happens when it shrinks? Well, it squeezes out all that waste that's in that cerebral spinal fluid, and it carries it through the lymphatic system, and it gets moved into the lymph system. And while that's all happening, the marvels of the body, it's also bringing nutrients to the nerves while it's removing toxic products from our brain. It's been said that this system is how our body keeps neurological degeneration and diseases at bay, and is one of the most underappreciated but vital systems in our bodies. But you just know that since it's in our brain, it's easily injured, easily upset. Football, soccer, head injuries, boxing, easy to upset this system. And we see it in traumatic brain injuries, car crashes, where people have had multiple concussions. So, otherwise their brains were working well till they get injured, they suffer an injury, and their injury affects the lymphatic system. And it could be, beside trauma, it could be poor sleeping habits. That technology I tell you to shut off at night, the EMF, can disrupt our sleep patterns. That's why we have to turn off those Wi-Fis at night, get our cell phones out of our bedrooms, because it has a negative effect on this system. And we can support this system. How? By engaging in proper sleeping positions. Think about this. The less congested the lymph in our neck is, our cervical lymph system and our cervical lymph nodes, and the entire lymph system, if it's in good shape, it's able to drain that lymphatic system out of our brain and protect our brain. And if we're overloaded with toxins, and how many times, ladies and gentlemen, have I talked to you about this? 16,000 plus chemicals that are approved by the EPA, but not even studied, only 20% of them. We're loaded in it. We have a toxic world. When our system is overloaded with these toxins and they're not draining properly, what happens? This system that drains our brain, the lymphatic system, becomes compromised. It's only so much it can do before it becomes overwhelmed. And then what happens to the toxins? They don't get out of your brain. Where do they go? They attack your brain. So this lymphatic system in our brains is for the removal of toxins. And here, see if you've ever heard of this before. Misfolded proteins. Misfolded proteins like amyloid. And where do you see this misfolded amyloid? You see it in neurodegenerative diseases such as ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's disease. And important to note again that this system only functions while we are asleep. Think about that. Just one night without a good night's sleep increases the accumulation of this amyloid in our brain. Just one night. Scary, isn't it? Because the hallmarks of these neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's and ALS, is aggravated, and typically the misfolded proteins are found in the brain. And I just, beside toxins, this is really important to know, because not a lot of people know about this, about these amyloid and misfolded proteins. So the other thing I want to bring to your attention is, without a good night's sleep and not getting rid of these toxins, it has been estimated by Dr. David Bellinger that 41 million IQ points are lost as a result of exposure to toxins. We need to get them out of our brain. We're getting dumber anyway because of fluoride. IQs are dropping. And Bellinger calculates a total loss of 16.9 million IQ points due to the exposure of organophosphates, the most common pesticides in agriculture. We have to get this stuff out of our brains. There's some great articles out there, but I could list all the toxic products. But no need to. We just have to get rid of them. So, what do we do about it? Well, you do not rely on sleeping pills. You do not rely on sleeping pills. You do turn off your Wi-Fi. This Wi-Fi, everybody thinks of EMFs and brain cancer, but we forget the more subtle and long-term effects it can have on our overall health and vitality. They now call this electropollution. Bathing in frequencies. You know what else it does? It makes you age more rapidly. Because we're not draining our brain, it has something to do with our sleep patterns. You know that people who live closest to cell phone towers experience the following symptoms more often than those who live further away. And what are those symptoms? Fatigue, sleep disturbances, headaches, feeling of discomfort, difficulty concentrating, depression, memory loss, visual disruptions, inability, irritability, hearing disruptions, skin problems, cardiovascular problems. How many people do you know today versus 20 years ago that now have atrial fibrillation or AFib? Loss of appetite, movement disorders, and nausea. And I can throw in one more. I'm seeing a lot of balance problems. Okay, you say, well, that's common as we get older, but I'm saying that the electropollution can make you older faster. Now, because it's just part of the toxic exposure, EMFs, chemicals, environmental stresses. It's all going to make you feel and look older than you should at your given age. And there are article upon article coming up to me about sleep disturbances. Chronic sleep deprivation causes inflammation and affects your immune function. Well, of course, because it's affecting your gut, and your gut has most of your immune function. I've told you for years now, you must have a superior interior. And especially the EMF affects the way this bacteria communicate with each other, and they die. The chemicals in our food kill off our microbiome in our intestines. They die. Popular sleep medications, a new deadly link. Well, we know that they can cause aortic aneurysm, and they're addictive. 76% of Americans say a lack of sleep in the past month interrupted daily life. More studies show fluoride affects brain and disrupts sleep. Sugar disrupts sleep. Just reading some headlines of articles that have just come out recently. And that's not even, I could go on forever, but, and we have talked about the blue light, right? So we need a good night's sleep in order for our lymphatic nervous system, lymphatic drainage system to kick in. Okay. So let's do talk about that. Although here's an article, you're less innovative when you don't get a good night's sleep. Your resting blood pressure increases. Well, we already know you'll be dumber because I told you a study just recently completed about losing IQ. And you won't have a strong an immune system, so you'll be more prone to disease and viral attacks. I told you about you'll look older. Yes, you'll age faster. Well, there's some studies out there to show you'll get fatter because of the disruption in your gut. You won't have the signals sent to your brain that it's time to eat or that you're full. You'll feel cold if you don't get a good night's sleep. You'll feel depressed. You'll be clumsy. You might even be over emotional. So let's have that resolution what to do. Okay, so there are some things we can do. And support our sleeping habits and keep our brain healthy. Exercise daily, right? So basic to everything we talk about, including inflammation. Yoga, walking, running, golf, tennis, Zumba, you name it. Keep moving because exercise supports that lymphatic flow in this lymphatic system that we want activated. Even though it doesn't get activated until you sleep. Okay? So sleep, we exercise during the day so that at night this system is activated and drains those toxins out. The recommended time for sleep for an adult is 7 to 9 hours. Of course, we have to get into that deep sleep for maximizing our drainage system. You know, you don't realize it because you're out of it, but our bodies are working overtime and overdrive to heal and maintain function. When you don't get enough sleep, that lymphatic flow is uninterrupted. What happens? Toxins don't come out of your brain. So is posture important? Well, you can read reports about this, whether you're sleeping correctly or not. So the two of all the sleeping positions studied, the two that are most damaging to the lower back is curled up on your tummy. So sleeping positions do affect our posture. Okay, so there's some studies are recommending you do some stretching exercises before you go to bed. But it looks like sleeping on your back is the best way to relax your spine. Okay, but because of the curvature of our spine, it's really important to find something soft to put under your neck and under your knees. But if you're a big fan of side sleeping, then we should adjust our pillow height so that our neck and shoulder height are the same on that side. And if necessary, put a pillow between your legs. I mean, it doesn't seem critical, huh? But it is important because we want to activate this lymphatic system to drain out these toxins. And it has been suggested that the head of the bed be elevated. And so the gravity can help drain the brain down into the lymphatic system in our bodies. I mean, it isn't all too complicated, and we've talked about melatonin, so I'm not going to go back there again. We've talked about blue light and how that is detrimental to our sleep and limits melatonin production. But something I want to continue to talk about is how we have to banish the electromagnetic fields and sleep in a darkened and cool room. The one thing I don't have a lot of information on because it's just coming out about sleeping on an incline. It probably would be a little bit of a chore to elevate the head of the bed 4 inches or so, especially if it's a king size bed. And the other thing that I've talked about is grounding, earthing. Some people say the worst invention has been shoes, since it insulates us from earth and getting those needed anti-inflammatory electrons balancing in our body. But if you can afford it, there are grounding mats that can be bought, and you can sleep on them. So it's not all that complicated, but just know that there is this lymphatic system in your brain that drains out everything, all the toxins in your brain if it's operating effectively. Incline your bed about 5 degrees or so we can get that down. The grounding pad, I think it might be part of our routine that I'm going to be recommending regularly. I've told you before about blue light, so it's a good idea to turn off your electronics about 2 hours before you go to bed. And if you can't do that, if you're addicted to the screens, please wear blue blocking glasses. Now, as soon as you get up, if your brain shrinks 40 to 60% at night, as soon as you get up, it's a great idea. What? Drink a glass of filtered water, so we can help that lymphatic system push out the rest of what's in that brain. Fill it back up with healthy fluids. And if so inclined, you can add some electrolytes. But do this as soon as you wake up. Before you shower and start your day, before you have any distractions in your day, get up, stop, and have a glass of water. It is really essential, and it's vital to being young and healthy and free of chronic diseases. As a side effect, you might find yourself more awake and alert every day. So whatever it takes, fill the glass up, put it next to your bed, put it next to the coffee pot, whatever it takes. Try and remember to have this glass of water when you wake up. And do keep a superior interior, ladies and gentlemen, so that a lot of this detox can occur in your gut before it crosses the blood-brain barrier, which the EMFs will have it do. It'll open up that blood-brain barrier. And although there's probably no real toxic dose of melatonin, and don't exceed 3 milligrams daily unless you're having some x-rays done or unless you need more anti-inflammatory action or you've been exposed to the Chinese virus. Dr. Sinatra used to recommend 40, 60, and 80 milligrams of melatonin if you go to have a CAT scan. But, if you've been exposed to somebody that's had the Chinese virus, you could take 10 milligrams a night. It's not really toxic. You may feel more awake the next day, but you don't want to have that stimulant in every day. So that's about all I really want to talk about today, okay? Because there's a connection between our gut, okay, and our brain. Our gut is sometimes called the second brain, right? We've talked about that. We really want to keep that happy. We want to keep our gut happy. And so, you have to see about your sleep position. Do you want to sleep on your back or do you want to sleep on your side? Whichever one makes you feel comfortable, okay? But maybe make the right use of the pillows. If you're sleeping on your back, under your head and your knees. If you're sleeping on your side, one under your head to get your head elevated to your spine level. So your cervical, thoracic, and lumbar spine are in a row. And if you feel uncomfortable in that side position, you might want to put a pillow between your legs. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dr. Ron. I do appreciate you listening to this program. We're just trying to bring you short, sweet podcasts. Next week, we'll ask Dr. Phil Safer to come back on and give us another little talk on being healthy and how he's staying healthy in Albuquerque with his routines of wellness. And we cannot forget about colloidal or ionic silver. I know it was banned during the time of COVID. You couldn't say anything during COVID when you weren't censored, but colloidal silver does have a lot of important benefits to our body. And there has not been a case of argyria in years, and people don't abuse it and drink gallons a week like the people that had it, this silver poisoning years ago. Then we also want to talk about in the coming weeks about energy medicine, because energy medicine is the future of medicine, and it is here today. Everything has a frequency, and frequency, vibrations, and energy is what needs to be treated. The Rockefeller system, the allopathic system of a pill for an ill, is outdated, expensive, and just puts band-aids on problems and does not cure anything. A lot of times people are on 5 and 6 drugs because the other drugs are needed to take care of the side effects of the first ones. Please stay up to date on what's happening with the COVID shots, and especially with the bivalent one. I'm not going to mention it here because I don't want to get canceled, but you can look it up and see how effective it is. See what the CDC and FDA are saying about it. And I would guess I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you, artificial sweeteners, ladies and gentlemen, they kill your microbiome in your gut. Okay. You can look at up one of my podcasts on that. But just remember that, please. Okay. You have been listening to Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored. We're going to call it a day, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great one.
Hey, everybody. Dr. Ron's finished today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say. If it's all about good health, he's the man you got to see. He has a lot more answers for you. So tune in next week when the doctor is in the house. Or when the doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. So if you have a pain, call the doctor. If you have a strain, call the doctor. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. When the doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. See you next week.